Hi, so this week is my finals. Since I'm a PhD student, I don't exactly have exams, but I do have submissions like papers to write and stuff. So this semester I took a course on English medieval literature, something which I am just not very much familiar with. So I got to learn a lot of new things, especially about medieval England and the literature produced at that time. And I decided to actually write my final paper on a particular book. It's actually a poem called Richard Coeur de Lion. And so we were actually working in class on this paper throughout the semester. I also had a conference presentation where I presented a paper on this particular book. So this essay, I have been developing it since forever, I feel, this semester, and now it's just the time for me to just wrap up my thoughts and write a full-length paper. So since I'm not very familiar with the topic and the area, it was a lot of extra reading for me. So the paper I'm writing is, of course, on this poem, and the themes that I'm dealing with are on crusading, on nationalism, on nation building, and the role of cannibalism. So in this book, in this poem, there is this segment about cannibalism. So of course I'm also looking at religion. I'm also looking at the English nation, and how it was being propagated, how it was in making in the Middle Ages in the European countries. So this has been a very interesting class, actually. The class was focused on studying race and nation. And to be honest, the other day I had a conversation with my professor, and I was telling him how I am even more confused about the concepts of nation and race after this class. And he was like, okay, I'm glad, because that was the purpose of this class, to make you more confused, to make you think more critically about the themes of nation and race, especially in regards to medieval literature in English. I guess I am interested in studying nationalism. Even last semester I took this course from the gender studies department, and we studied sexuality and nationalism. So I guess my ideas regarding nationalism are being sort of challenged, the preconceived notions of nationalism that I might have had before. So it's very interesting to read these new articles, new thoughts on nationalism, and it's also inspired me to take some of these theories to work on my papers and my dissertation later on. So anyway, this particular paper that I am working on for this final paper talks about this King Richard, and how he went on crusade, how he went on crusade to the Middle East in the medieval ages, and how he used how he turned into a cannibal, actually. So the people he was there to conquer, the so-called Holy Land of Christianity, and I feel, of course, it's still, those historical events still have impact on our reality in modern times, very sadly. So anyway, Richard has this episode of where he falls sick in his battles, and he wants to eat pork. But since he is in the Middle East, since he is in a Muslim nation, there were no porks to be found. He wanted to have pork, but there was no pork. And then there was one of his cooks who cooked a man from the opposite party, and from one of the Middle Eastern men, mostly he is referred to as a Saracen. Mostly it's related to, or it's denoted for Muslims. So how he just cooked a man and served it to Richard, and Richard ate it very happily. So even after getting to know that he ate a man, he was not disgusted, rather he was very proud. And so my paper talks about how he uses the human flesh, the act of eating of the human flesh in this text symbolizes not only dehumanization of another human race, but also how it is an act of domination in the process of nation building. So that's my argument in this essay is. And of course this is a very well researched area. There has been a lot of study done on this book, specifically on cannibalism, related to Christendom, related to nation building, related to Christian nation building, and topics as such, by medievalists and scholars. So yeah, I have read quite a few interesting articles and essays and books. I hope I'm making sense in this paper, because this, I don't think medieval literature is my strongest suit, but nonetheless I think I learned a lot in this class about race, about how fluid the concept of nationalism and nation is. So yeah, in this class of course we read many other texts, medieval English texts, and romances. The romances in the Middle Ages were very different from what we think of romance now. They mostly talked about one particular hero. It was mostly about glamorization of a king mostly, and how brave they were. So the concept of romance was actually very much different in the Middle Ages, I would say. But nonetheless, the texts that we studied deal with the concepts of nationalism and race. So studying race situated in the Middle Ages is, although different from what we understand of race and nationalism now, is not so different in the medieval times. I'm going to submit my essay now. This is my final essay for the semester, and then I will be done.